Okay, guys, so I'm going to show you how I go about adding some different details and textures to the same bathroom model. So this is kind of like part two. Let me share my screen. All right. So this is a SketchUp model I've been working on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Colors and Model. And then I want to, actually, I'm already there. I want to add a new texture. And I'm going to place in here the tile that I found that I want to use as my accent and backsplash tile. So there's this right here. And this is probably showing me, let's see, 4, 8, 12, 16. So it's probably showing me about a 16-inch by 16-inch sample. So I'm going to go down. And select the pattern I just put in. And I'm going to go ahead and cover that wall, and it went down all the way perfect because that's kind of how I wanted it. I wanted to see the contrast between the teak and the concrete and this tile. Now I have an error on this one little section here, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say edit component. I'm going to make that go away. There we go. All right. So that's how I would go about doing that. Now, back up over in this area of my model, what I had planned was teak on the floor. And I could, in theory, paint teak planks on the floor. But I'm looking to actually indicate that this has a texture and a relief, and it's wrapping all up the wall. It's also going to be inside the sauna shower. So this is kind of an important detail that I want to try and get right. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to go ahead and make a reference line. So that way I know where this stuff is going to line up. Pretty important. All right. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start, because I can actually look at these and I can say, oh, okay. So like right here, it's going to be on edge. Okay. I have to figure out how I want to do this. So back up to go forward. How wide is this? That is 2'10". All right. And then this is going to be what? What's the width on this? I can't see it. Let me move some of this stuff out of my way so I can see it. Okay, so it's probably going to be about 4 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do it out here. This will make sense why here in a minute. I want to go 2'10", 4 inches. There we go. And I'm going to, because I'm only trying to do a texture, I'm going to extrude it 0.25 inches. I'm not going to make this real thick. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this. Let me make sure I'm not including my drawing because I don't want to do that. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say make a component. All right, and this component, teak plank. Great. All right. Then what I want to do is I want to come over. And because I made it a component, rather than having to worry about getting all the different parts of it, I can find my teak sample, which is, I believe, this right here, and it will paint the whole thing. Okay, so see how that worked out? All right, so here's the cool bit. I'm going to take this, I'm going to move it. I'm going to move it down into this section. Now, what I need to do though, is I'm going to want a slight gap between these. So I'm going to, okay, I'm going to take this, I'm going to move it over, I'm going to say 0.25. Okay, so edit, copy, edit, paste in place. And then I'm going to move, and I'm going to, remember, I'm going to hit my right arrow. So, oops, that's the wrong one. There we go. I want to move it right into place. There we go. So see how nicely that lines up. When I add my floor here, this will just read as just like a little bit of pattern and a little bit of depth. So I can do the same thing here. It's a little tedious, 0.25. But now, instead of just doing one, I can copy 2, edit, copy, edit, paste in place. Then I can move all of them. And it all lines up. And I'll do that all the way across. Okay, so now I have all this laid out. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select, because remember I had this as a component. I'm going to select all of these. Okay, and I'll right click and I'll say make a component, and I'll say teak cladding. Now, some people may wonder, why is she using wood in a bathroom? Teak can actually be used in wet applications. It's used on boats, high caliber boats. It's used in Asia frequently in wet applications. So teak can actually be used in wet applications. So that's why I have it inside a wet environment here. You can even buy bath furniture, like stools and things like that, that are actually made of teak. So that's how I get this. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, edit, copy, edit, paste, and I'm just going to line it up for right now. Go about halfway up the wall. All right. And then I'm going to zoom out. Come on. All right. And it's actually, you can see how it's kind of, it's in the wrong location. That's okay. Because what I am going to do now is I'm going to get on the correct set of grips and I'm going to rotate it. And then I'm going to move it into the correct location, like so. And let me come down on that endpoint. Let me make sure that I get this to line up. There we go. Now, if I need to, I can just manipulate this a little bit so that way it pulls away from the wall so you can see it as the texture that it is. Come on. Sometimes this takes a little bit of work. So one of the ways you can actually make this a little bit easier is actually just snap a guide and say, okay, I want it to come out 0.25 inches. All right. Then I'm going to try moving this again. I'm going to snap from that corner forward. And that's how, if it's really giving you fits and starts as it were, that's how you can go about and manipulate that. So that way it lines up correctly. It's still flush with the wall, but you have the proper reveal. If I need to change this, what I can do, there's a couple things I could do. Like I could copy and paste this to extend it up the wall, all the way up the wall, or I could go back over and I could say, okay, window, component, and there's that. Where's my teak plank? I think that's what this is. Yep, teak plank. Bring that in. Yep, let me do this. Where'd you go? Okay, there we go. I'm going to rotate this, and then I'm going to bring it all the way out. I don't think that's quite right. Okay. I might have to actually wind up repainting it, but that's how I would go ahead and get it to go all the way up the wall. So if you're dealing with most textures, you can just paint and you're fine. There are certain ones where sometimes you have to create the texture for it to look right, like this planking, for example, or if I was doing, like if I was trying to really get the texture of shiplap, I might approach it the same way. So that way I have what's called the shadow lines when I'm done. That's one of the reasons why we do this work in the first place in designs.